Do you think that Pakistan should again play the game of bad Taliban and good Taliban?
Yes, sir. And they have shown that they are rather closer to the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan than they are with Pakistan itself. So I don't think there should be any more further mechanisms where we keep providing that sort of carrot-only approach. I think the carrot and stick approach is now more advisable, where we focus on counter-deterrence, protecting our borders, and at the same time, if need be, we should be prepared to infiltrate Afghanistan.
What do you know about the role of Joseph McCarthy and General Douglas MacArthur
Yes, sir.
in the context of US history?
Of course, is associated with McCarthyism. In the midst of the Red Scare and communism, there was this list that was published known as the Unwanted Americans list, which was later found out to be a bogus list of certain senators and members of the House that had affiliations with the Communist Party.
Mustafa, what are some of the reasons for underdeveloped capital markets in Pakistan?
On the past, we have had over-regulations on behalf of SECP as well as the State Bank that have prevented the individual or the institutional investor from taking part in capital markets. For example, if I talk about myself, as an individual, I cannot invest in the Pakistan Stock Exchange directly. I need to go through a broker. However, I can invest in the New York Stock Exchange, and I do hold some low-level securities. So that difference in terms of the investment climate is one of the reasons that the capital markets are relative.
आइए फरहान।
How are you, Mustafa?
I'm well, sir. Alhamdulillah.
What are you doing these days?
So primarily preparing for the interview, but I'm also a sportsman, so my training is going on, and I'm preparing for the Commonwealth Games for next year.
Where's the sport you are indulged?
So I'm a power lifter, represent
power
Pakistan.
lifter.
Yes, sir.
There is a very famous power lifter who is generally appearing on the social media in comedy clips. What is his name?
So are you referring to Khan Baba?
No. He is a proper international power lifter.
In social media and comedy clips?
No. Yes. Are you not familiar with the Anatoly?
Anatoly, yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's not a competitive power lifter, but he more so has a social media persona. And he does comedy skits around gyms, if I'm recognizing the person correctly.
The same person.
He goes around as a janitor and pretends to
Has
be.
he earned any major awards in his own weight?
So in the federation that I compete in, the International Powerlifting Federation, which is the most recognized federation, he has not competed in that federation. But nonetheless, he's a very strong individual, and his lifts are very impressive.
And what else?
So managing time with family, my sister who's
Are you married?
I'm not, sir. I'm not.
What is most peculiar about Mr. Late Gerald Ford in the United States history? He is a unique character.
Yes.
Why?
Sir. I think unique because he tended to have certain.
We are not talking about the personality trait.
Okay, sir.
We'll come to the personality trait later on.
Okay, sir.
First, we'll discuss that he was unique as far as the constitutional position is concerned. Why?
So I'm not familiar with the position that he held.
How did he become president?
I would need to look into that, sir.
Are you familiar with the 25th Constitutional Amendment of United States, 1960?
I believe
61 probably.
61. So does that have to do with the succession of the presidency?
Yes, succession of the presidency. And also, tell me about that.
So I believe it recognized that in the case of a death of a president, the vice president would be next in line of succession.
Okay, what is the clause 2 of that constitutional amendment?
So I would need to look up the particular clause.
The biggest naval warship is in the name of Gerald Ford. What is so important with Gerald Ford in American history? ये तो constitutional history है.
Reason.
Otherwise.
So I would need to read more into Ford's history. He's a president that I have limited information on currently.
In the current politics of United States, and especially the stance of the President Trump against the New York mayor, what will happen to the general sentiments of general immigrants in the United States?
So of course there is a rift, and Trump has threatened to cut federal funding for New York City. Immigrants will feel protected within the New York City having a mayor who is looking after them. But generally, the sentiment of immigrants is rather low in the sense that Trump
Is it constitutionally possible to stop the funding from the federal sources to New York City?
Constitutionally, I don't believe so, but with President Trump, you never really know. He could make a certain order, or he could bring up a law from the late 18th century to cite his reasoning for cutting funding.
What are the new issues of United States emerging in the South America?
So, of course, as you mentioned,
South America.
yes, so immigration is one that is particularly concerning with Mexico. Drug trade is being cited by Donald Trump.
Okay.
Even though there isn't a lot of evidence that cites drugs coming in from Venezuela, which is a country he is particularly obsessed with.
And what about Caribbean states?
Caribbean states, I don't believe Donald Trump is concerned with. Particularly, I believe Cuba could be one, but I would read more into his stance or policies in the Caribbean.
Okay. Come to the Venezuela.
Yes, sir.
What is the present tension?
So the tension is with the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, who is appearing to be a rather strong man and going against the sort of policy or historical policy that the US has had of South America being its backyard. The Monroe Doctrine, of course, the famous Monroe Doctrine of 1803, which considers South America the backyard of the US. So having a strong man in Venezuela in the shape of Nicolas Maduro presents a threat, not necessarily a threat, but a reason of concern for Donald Trump, because he likes the appeasement factor that South America has or gives him.
In your opinion, what should be the approach of Pakistan towards Afghanistan in the present scenario when the talks have failed?
Yes, sir.
So what should we do?
I think there should be a mechanism where Pakistan still continues to rally the international community, particularly the concerned stakeholders such as the Central Asian republics as well as China, who are threatened by the militancy or cross-border terrorism that is being held or occurring from Afghanistan's soil. So maybe create a coalition of the willing, include these organizations and put pressure both diplomatically and informally on the Afghan government to control this sort of mess that is being.
But why Taliban government this time is not ready to make any compromise with Pakistan, especially on the TLP issue? What is their strength?
I think I will bring up the two major factions within the Afghan Taliban, the Haqqani group and the group that is in Kabul under Mullah Khunzada. Initially, Pakistan was under the impression that the Haqqani group would at least show some sort of allegiance to Pakistan, but we have not seen that. So there is close-knit.
Again, but do you think that Pakistan should again play the game of bad Taliban and good Taliban?
I don't think
Haqqanis
so.
are again Talibans?
Yes, sir. And they have shown that they are rather closer to the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan than they are with Pakistan itself. So I don't think there should be any more further mechanisms where we keep providing that sort of carrot-only approach. I think a carrot and stick approach is now more advisable, where we focus on counter-deterrence, protecting our borders, and at the same time, if need be, we should be prepared to infiltrate Afghanistan.
If we stop the transit trade to Afghanistan, what is the plus point of this year?
Afghanistan will be affected significantly. Its economy.
And what about Pakistan?
Pakistan too will be affected because it earns through the transit trade, but not to the extent that Afghanistan will be affected. So I believe it is a good measure.
But yesterday, Afghanistan minister was saying that they have selected and opted for the alternate routes. They are not deterred.
I think managing public expectations and the ground realities can sometimes be different. The Afghan transit trade, particularly through the Torkham border, contributes significantly to the Afghan economy. They can say that they have found alternative routes. Maybe they have, but completely disregarding the Torkham border and the transit trade, in my opinion, would be a negative decision on behalf of their government if we look at it from their perspective.
What do you know about the role of Joseph McCarthy and General Douglas MacArthur
Yes, sir.
in the context of US history?
McCarthy, former McCarthy, of course, is associated with McCarthyism. In the midst of the Red Scare and communism, there was this list that was published known as the Unwanted Americans list, which was later found out to be a bogus list of certain senators and members of the House that had affiliations with the Communist Party within the US as well as USSR.
Okay.
Douglas MacArthur was a general, and I believe in
What assignment was, important assignment was he holding during the Second World War?
So I've read about it, but
And later on?
I've read about it, but at the moment I cannot recall.
And what happened to him? Was he fired?
I believe he was, yes.
Why?
Again, please allow me to look into this.
There is a term used in the context of political science and especially in the context of coups, Bonapartism. What is that?
So I have first time I'm hearing it, but is it does any way it refer to Napoleon Bonaparte?
Yes.
My guess would be the way that Napoleon consolidated his power, and but I will look into it. I'm not a student of political science.
It is said that the 26th Amendment has compromised independence of judiciary. What is your take on that?
So generally speaking, I agree with that statement.
How would you substantiate your contention?
So prior to the 26th Amendment, the Judicial Commission of Pakistan consisted of a membership that was...
27th Amendment has done nothing to Judicial Commission of Pakistan.
So I believe you said 26.
27th, sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry, 27th.
Okay, sir. Then I will bring up the case of the transfer of judges, for example.
Yes.
It has amended Article 200, which contained a clause that required the consent of judges before they could be transferred. It has removed that requirement of consent. So now judges can be transferred between the high courts without their consent. I believe that reduces the level of the judiciary to civil servants in the sense
Who is going to transfer them?
So prior to the 27th Amendment, it was the President, but now that power has been given to the Judicial Commission of Pakistan.
So,
So
authority is again the Judicial Commission,
yes, sir, but if we look at
not the executive.
if we look at the composition of the JCP, it still appears to be rather executive compliant. It only has the Chief Justice of Pakistan and 3 senior justices. But if we look at the other members, you have the Attorney General, you have the Law Minister, you have an advocate that is nominated by the Pakistan Bar Council, you have a technocrat nominated by the Speaker, which of course is of the ruling party, and you have 2 MNAs and 2 senators. So there still is, and of course a simple majority is required in decision making. So the executive still holds that majority in the
Okay, in
JCP.
view of the historical role of the judiciary since 1958, don't you think that the present, whatsoever the harsh, whatsoever word says, decisions, constitutional decisions against the judiciary was not a natural outcome?
I believe to some extent there is that argument, and I agree with it too. One of the pros of the 27th Amendment I find is the elimination of the institutional friction that we have observed in the past decades or so, where the judiciary
It is
has...
more than a decade.
Yes, sir. I've since the independence, since the first constitution, we have seen that overreach on behalf of the judiciary. I do not disagree with that. And I believe that this sort of institutional friction that has now been eliminated is a good thing for Pakistan, because it gives the signal to the international community as well as investors that this is the status quo. We have achieved this stability. However, I would still raise the question of whether that short-term stability that we have reached, is it worth the disbalancing of the trichotomy of powers and the principles of checks and balances that I believe Pakistan should be following.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mustafa, what are some of the reasons for underdeveloped capital markets in Pakistan?
Sir, I think on the past we have had over regulations on behalf of SECP as well as the State Bank that have prevented the individual or the institutional investor from taking part in capital markets. For example, if I talk about myself as an individual, I cannot invest in the Pakistan Stock Exchange directly. I need to go through a broker. However, I can invest in the New York Stock Exchange. And I do hold some low-level securities. So that difference in terms of the investment climate is one of the reasons that the capital markets are relatively.
So there is uncertainty, we can say, in the investment climate, or what are the reasons why Pakistan has
I think
not been able to?
accessibility. The investment climate is rather inaccessible for the general consumer. Even for businesses, if we turn from the capital market to the financing market, it is not easy for SMEs or the agricultural individual to get access to credit. I was reading a report last week by the ILO that found that credit to the public sector is 70 times greater in Pakistan than in the private sector. That is an astonishing figure. The majority of Pakistan's credit goes directly to the government.
There is no room for the SMEs or for the small businesses.
Exactly, I agree, sir.
Okay, floating exchange rate or fixed exchange rate at the moment in Pakistan, which do you prefer and why?
I think what we have right now as in a managed floating exchange rate is the way to go. Completely fixing the exchange rate limits options in terms of trade as well as monetary policy. And at the same time, having a completely floating exchange rate then proves us vulnerable to the shocks and cycles that we have seen, eventually returning to the IMF and that sort of debt.
Okay. What happens to the exchange rate, Mustafa, when imports are rising?
So when imports are rising, that means that there is an increased pressure on the rupee. So I would expect the exchange rate to devalue.
To devalue?
Yes, sir.
To go down?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what will happen?
As in the rupee would weaken.
Okay, yeah, okay. What happened with the forex reserves?
Similarly, they would fall down because your imports are increasing. And if they are not managed by an increasing proportion of exports, then the reserves.
And what happens if simultaneously there is more and more portfolio investment pouring in the Pakistani market?
If there is investment pouring in, then that would increase the number of reserves. And then at the same time, if your imports are increasing, that would decrease the number of reserves.
Okay, okay. What are these Roshan digital accounts, Mustafa?
So these are opportunities for foreign-based individuals to invest in Pakistan and receive a rather lucrative rate on their dollar-based or pound-based investments, which they cannot in the moment receive in their sort of domestic
So this is sort of an investment? It's a remittance or it's an investment?
I would classify, in my opinion, is an investment. Because they are receiving a return on it, a fixed percentage return.
The fixed deposits, are these fixed deposits?
Yes, sir, I think so.
For term deposits?
Term deposits.
Term deposits.
These are term deposits.
Term deposits.
So please.
Okay. My last question, just for my information. What is the difference between interest rate and Khyber?
So the interest rate, also referred to as the discount rate,
Policy, discount rate,
Yes.
policy rate.
is the rate at which is the official set rate by the State Bank at which the loans can be achieved. Khyber is the Karachi Interbank operational rate. I think is something else. But that is a fluctuating rate based on the ground market realities. It is usually
In which case Khyber is introduced?
So I'm not too sure. Khyber is reduced.
I'm asking question from an economist.
Yes, sir.
So,
Usually we see Khyber as a baseline for.
आज हम number काटेंगे इसके.
Khyber is the baseline used by commercial banks to. It's the interbank lending
Yes.
rate. So it is the rate at which banks lend to each other. So they usually add a markup.
लाइबर तो खत्म कर रहे थे ना पिछले 2-3 साल पहले there was a news that LIBOR is going to finish.
Okay, why there's what are the reasons of involvement of this Turkey and UAE in the conflict and Egypt also in the conflict in Sudan?
I think generally speaking, Middle Eastern countries are now playing a mediatory role. Qatar as well, if we include it, in major conflicts in the world.
But there is a conflict in the two forces within Sudan.
Yes,
Are you
sir.
familiar with it?
Yes, sir.
One party is being supported by the UAE, other
sir.
party is being supported by the Turkey.
Yes, sir.
Turkey.
The UAE is supporting the Sudanese armed forces, and Turkey is supporting the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces.
What is their interest? What is so special in Sudan?
Sudan, of course, has significant oil reserves. So they see interest right now when their stability would be achieved. They could translate that support of whichever party they are supporting towards long-term contracts.
Do you think that UAE is having a lot of interest in oil of Sudan?
So it is an oil-rich country, but I think that could still be one of the reasons.
You need to find the reasons.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you.